Well, good afternoon. This is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. Really glad you could join me today. It's a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania, and about a month away will be our last frost date here in Zone 6. But anyhow, I'm out here in the garden. I wanted to give you some tips and ideas on how to grow spinach. And the variety that I'm using today is Bloomsdale Long Standing. So I'm really glad you could join me today. So before we get started direct sowing these seeds in the soil, let's just talk about soil temperature conditions. And I don't know if you've seen some of my other videos, but there are charts, I did videos on soil temperature, seed germination chart, and when you should also a date calendar for sowing your seeds indoors. And so, but here, this is a soil temperature conditions for vegetable seed germination chart. And so, since we're direct sowing spinach seeds here today, they tell you here the minimum temperature is 35, and then optimum range is 45 to 75. And I got this from the Alabama Cooperative Extension System. And so it's really helpful information. And then what I use is my meat thermometer from inside when you typically would check the temperature of a roast or chicken or whatever. So this works really well for putting it in your soil and checking your soil temperatures. And so also, behind the packs there's always some helpful information. They do tell you here to plant the spinach at depth of 1/2 inch, and I'd say you could sow that even a little bit deeper if you want, and then thin to 4 to 6 inches. Although with my spinach here, I don't even bother thinning it, because the spinach here in Pennsylvania, it's going to bolt anyhow come the summer heat. And then it requires full sun, and then maturity is 48 days. And then also I have here is an interval chart here that's also helpful. You don't want to grow all your crops at one time. You want to plant them in succession or different intervals. And I got this chart here from Johnny's Selected Seed, and then of course I laminated all my charts. I did a video on laminating your labels and your charts, how it's really helpful to do that so they last a long time. But anyhow, it tells you here about spinach. It says the 7-day intervals, and then you sow up to 2 weeks before first frost unless using protected covers. So anyhow, what we're going to do is we're going to get started preparing this soil for the seeds. So one of my favorite tools is the garden fork, and you want to work that back and forth through your soil, making sure it's nice and loose. That way the looser your soils are, the more your roots are going to spread and then take up nutrients, therefore resulting in a larger plant. And then you can go the one direction. Again, this fork is 12 inches long, so it goes in nice and easy. And then you can also turn it around the other direction. And so work it right around where you're going to be planting your seeds, all the way down the row here. And then I'm going to just take the back of my rake here and then just gently drag it along here to level off your soil. You want your soil bed to be nice and fine for these seeds. I grow, here I use the composted leaf mulch amended with topsoil, and then I use my little rotary weasel, the rotary cultivator, just to break up any of the clumps. And so I would say right now that this soil here is ready for direct sowing of these spinach seeds. So what I did is I come in about 6 inches from the end, the long side of the raised bed, and then I have my 6-foot stick. It's 3/4 by 3/4 inches, and then I just move it back and forth, rock it back and forth to mark your row. And then I'm going to take just the side of my hand and go down and make a nice deep channel, probably about 1 inch deep. I always just like working with my hands in the soil. And then just make a V with your pack here. And it never hurts to overseed a little bit. And then once you start tapping it, you know, you develop a little bit of a rhythm and the seeds just start dropping out. It may take a minute to get that started, and then you just simply drop them right in the trench there. You want to make sure there's no clumps in your soil. You don't want to backfill clumps over your seeds. And then just take your hand, I just take my hand and backfill. Boy, the sun really feels nice. We just had rain 2 days ago here in Pennsylvania. And so it's been nice. I thank the Lord for a beautiful day like this. And so anyhow, I just patted it down with my hand. And then you also want to mark your rows. You know, I use these fiberglass rods from tents, and so you want to make sure you mark each end where the plant is. And then also I have these food labels that you may have seen me use them in my other videos. And then anyhow, I'm going to take my row cover here and cover this with the row cover. You want to make sure all your seeds are, at least I cover my seeds here in the garden, keep the heavy rains off them and any animals. And then I like using my brick here to weigh it down. And then you just want to simply take your label here and mark what you grew here. And so it always, and then, you know, of course, I did the video on recommending people to keep a garden log, and so, you know, you want to write the date down when you planted your seeds so you can keep track of that, and then this information will be helpful for next year. And then just take your watering can and water your seeds in. You want to make sure your seedlings, that this doesn't dry out. So anyhow, we're looking forward to having some spinach here in a couple months, maybe sooner. And you know, since I follow a whole food plant-based diet, you know, I love my greens out here. My Swiss chard's one of my favorite, but I also love the spinach and you know, the kale, and so they're, you know, full of phytonutrients, and so, you know, very healthy for us. So anyhow, I just want to thank you for joining me today. And you know, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the section below. And you know, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so you can receive future videos. So until next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.